Tom, the car I left with you is surrounded by iron bars. I got a call from my brother Tom, who said he was back from his overseas assignment after a year to pick up his car. Apparently, he had left his car parked in the parking lot of the hotel I run.
What?
I don't see any such car at my hotel. Where did you park it? In the parking lot. Under the oak tree.
What? The old hotel?
I sold it and relocated 10 years ago. What? I heard that hotel was sold to some gangsters.
You! Unauthorized parking!
I hear a terrifying voice over the phone. No, Tom's voice trembles with fear. I imagine him surrounded by gangsters. This is the retribution for treating me like a slave since I was little. I don't care what happens to him. My name is Maria. I'm a 42-year-old working housewife. My family has been running this hotel since my father's grandmother's generation. Needless to say, it's quite popular, and we're sometimes fully booked during the busy season. However, the recent social situation has hit us with a recession as well. We've finally started to bounce back recently, and my parents and I have talked about how glad we are that we persevered. By the way, my husband Mike and I are planning to take over this hotel in the future. That's why both Mike and I are strictly educated by our parents every day. The work is very hard, but the words from our guests, like, "This is a really nice hotel," or, "Thank you, I'll come again," give me the encouragement to keep going. Now I work as the hotel's successor, but I used to be a child running around like Tom's slave. My brother Tom, who is 3 years older than me, is quite a strong-willed person. He can't stand not being number one and thinks that all of our parents' love should be focused on him. But naturally, our parents loved us equally without any sibling discrimination. Tom didn't like that. Of course, when you do something wrong, you get scolded, but Tom would push his mistakes onto me. And he would deliberately do bad things. For example, he would sneak into a guest room that we were told not to enter, eat snacks in a beautifully cleaned room, or bring in toys and scatter them around. He would even destroy the room's amenities. He even broke the window glass of a room that was famous for its magnificent view of the courtyard. Tom was constantly doing things, from malicious to petty mischief. And he would blame it all on me, saying, "Maria did it." At first, even my parents believed Tom's words and scolded me, but if that kept happening, they would surely think it was strange. The decisive factor was when Tom came in while I was helping my mother clean and said,
"Maria broke the room amenities again."
There's no way I could have done that when I was with my mother the whole time. At that point, his misdeeds were fully exposed, and he was severely scolded by our parents. From then on, Tom became even more stubborn and completely treated me as the bad guy. He would make false accusations like,
"It's your fault I got scolded,"
and say, "If you feel bad about it, do as I say." Among older siblings, there are some who act overly bossy towards their younger siblings. And younger siblings are weak against such older siblings. Yes, I too was at the mercy of my older brother Tom. As a child, he seemed like an absolute existence to me. If he said, "Give me your snacks, Maria," I would think I had to hand them over. If he said, "Massage my shoulders," I would massage them. If he said,
"Clean my room,"
I would clean it. When our parents were busy during the peak season, I was often left alone with him. The money our parents gave us, saying, "Buy your dinner with this," would naturally be used entirely by him. "What's yours is all mine." When you actually hear those words, you realize how cruel they are. When I was in the upper grades of elementary school, I finally realized that he was being ridiculous and started to rebel more. If he didn't like that, when I got good grades on a test, he would say,
"You must have cheated," and tear up the test.
If I prepared for school the day before, the next morning I would sometimes find my textbooks and notebooks scattered around or thrown in the trash. I wanted to talk to my parents about it, but I couldn't bring it up to them when they were so busy. As we grew up, Tom's bullying also grew more sophisticated, and he would do it in ways that our parents wouldn't notice. Thinking he wouldn't get caught, he kept escalating. He even started stealing my things more often. If I got a new toy, it would quickly disappear, and I would often find it in his room later. Even if I accused him, he wouldn't admit he did it, saying, "You must have left it there herself." By middle school, I had become more cautious, but one day my wallet was stolen when he entered my room without permission. My piggy bank also disappeared. Furious and at my limit, I stormed into his room screaming. And we got into a huge fight, grappling with each other. Our parents were flustered, wondering what was going on, and Tom kept insisting he did nothing wrong. So I begged my parents to put a lock on my bedroom door. He complained, but he couldn't explain to our parents why he was complaining. Thanks to the lock, I finally had some peace. Then when Tom graduated from college and moved out, and complete peace finally arrived. By that time, I had already graduated from high school and was helping my parents. I hadn't really thought about taking over the hotel yet, but Tom had said, "I'm not going to inherit this old hotel." So I kind of figured that's how it would turn out. My parents said it was okay if I didn't want to take over if I had something else I wanted to do, but I found the hotel work more enjoyable than I had expected. I guess it suits me. As for Tom, he got a job in the trading industry and lives far away. He got married in his mid-20s, but I rarely see his wife Emma either. However, they come to visit about once a year, and when they do, they stay at the hotel, not at their parents' house. I don't mind that in itself, and if my parents say it's okay, I don't care if they stay for free. But the problem is Tom and Emma's attitude during those times. They are a well-matched couple, and they are fussy and shameless. First of all, they won't be satisfied unless they get the most luxurious room. Even with the recession, the best rooms tend to fill up with reservations mysteriously, and at our hotel, the top-tier rooms are always fully booked on weekdays. There's no way we can let Tom and Emma, who often come back suddenly without notice, stay in those rooms. Our parents suggest a different room, wondering if that would work. What do you think happens then? Incredibly, they throw a fit and go yelling at the guests staying in the nice rooms.
"It's your fault we can't stay here,"
they shouted, making a huge scene. The guests who had made reservations and come to stay were furious. Of course they were. My parents and all of our staff desperately apologized and somehow got them to forgive us. But far from apologizing, they had the nerve to say, "It's their fault for getting in our way." Even my father was enraged by this and declared that he would never let them stay at the hotel again. They got angry in return and said,
"We won't let you see your grandchildren even if we have any."
After that, we became completely estranged from Tom and Emma. Fortunately, aside from my parents, no one, including myself, was sad that Tom and Emma stopped coming. Everyone was fed up with how they would act like they were some kind of royalty and order us around every time they came. If anything, we were grateful they stopped coming. And so, peace came to me, the younger sister, and the hotel for over a decade. Just when we had completely forgotten about Tom and Emma's existence, the two of them caused trouble again. One day, Tom suddenly called me. "I'm being sent overseas for work," he said. "What?" I thought, tilting my head in confusion. "I don't know how many years it'll be until I come back, so take care of my car." "What? Why don't you just take your car with you on your assignment?" The procedures are a hassle and it costs money. I might consider it if you take care of everything for me, though.
Of course I don't want to do that. Why should I have to?
Then take responsibility and look after my car. I don't understand what he means. Take responsibility for what? Why do I have to look after his car when he's contacting me for the first time in over a decade? But before I could refuse, Tom said, "All right, I'll bring it to the hotel parking lot tomorrow. Thanks in advance."
Hey, wait a minute. Don't do that. It's a nuisance.
Shut up. It's because you said you won't do anything.
It's your fault, so don't complain.
Why am I being made out to be the bad one? Before I could argue back, Tom said what he wanted to say and hung up. Even after more than 10 years, he is still the same, making me both angry and exasperated.
That idiot!
My father was also furious when he heard the story. By the way, Tom and Emma had said they wouldn't let us see our grandchildren, but we haven't heard anything about them having kids since then. And I married Mike, who works and lives at our place, and I'm now a mother of 2. In other words, my parents are happy living together with their grandchildren. Their scheme to make my parents sad easily fell apart. Not only that, but when Tom had the nerve to say such presumptuous things on the phone after so long, my parents were enraged.
If he comes tomorrow, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind,
my father said, seething with anger. But Tom must have anticipated that, because a few days later he sneakily called to say, "I left the car there. The key's hidden under the bumper, so find it.
At least come and greet us properly."
Why do I have to do such a troublesome thing? Listen, don't you dare drive the car. Make sure to wash it once a week. He made all sorts of selfish demands and then said, "I'm leaving tomorrow, so goodbye," and hung up. What is wrong with this brother of mine? And then the months and years flew by. It's been a year since he was sent overseas. Long after I had completely forgotten about him, my phone rang. It's from some guy named Tom, but who was that again?
It's your older brother, right?
Oh, that's right, that's right, Mike said with a wry smile. Let's ignore it. I put down my phone, thinking there was no need to answer, but Tom didn't give up either. He must have intended to keep calling until I picked up, because it kept ringing forever. So I switched it to voicemail and it stopped. I felt relieved, but then he called right back. If he kept doing that endlessly, of course I would get fed up and say, "Ugh, enough already." I steeled myself and answered the phone.
"You're late. Do you have any idea how many times I called? When your own brother calls, you should pick up on the first ring."
I couldn't help but feel irritated. It seemed like he didn't hear that, and Tom started over, saying, "Whatever. Let me get to the point. About the car, I guess I should thank you for keeping it. I finished my overseas assignment and got back yesterday." "Is that so?" I replied half-heartedly. "So I'm coming to pick up the car."
"What?
You washed it once a week like I told you, right? The battery is probably dead, so have a jump starter ready. You should at least have that much. I mean, I do, but..." Tom, what are you talking about?
Huh? I'm telling you, I'm coming to get the car.
Where did you leave the car?
What? Where else but the hotel parking lot?
Tom insists he parked it there, but Tom's car is nowhere to be found in either our hotel's guest parking or staff parking. When Tom contacted me a year ago saying he left the car, I checked the parking lot but couldn't find it anywhere. My parents and I ended up figuring he must have changed his mind about leaving it after all. No one wanted to contact Tom, so we never followed up with a confirmation call. But now, a year later, Tom is saying he's coming to pick up the car. What in the world is he talking about?
What are you saying? It's my car, my car. The bright red one. Guests sometimes drive bright red cars, but there aren't any cars that have been left abandoned for a whole year. Don't lie to me. Even if you yell at me, I don't know what I don't know. If you come here and check, you'll see for yourself. Fine. I'll be there tomorrow, so wait for me. If you sold it without permission, I won't forgive you. Why would I ever do that?
Before I could say, I'm not like you, Tom, he had already hung up.
What the heck is going on?
I honestly have no idea what he is talking about. More than that, the thought of Tom coming tomorrow made me feel gloomy and heavy-hearted. But then the next day came. Evening arrived and Tom still hadn't shown up. It was a weekday and there was still time, but it's not like we had 0 guests. We weren't swamped, but there was still a lot to do. I had finally settled down to take a break when my phone rang. It was that devil Tom. I didn't want him interfering with work, so I picked up and was immediately met with yelling.
Hey! What the hell is going on here?
What's with you all of a sudden?
I came to the hotel parking lot, but something seems off.
Huh? Tom, you're here? I glanced out the window. The parking lot was right past it, but there was no sign of Tom. If he was shouting this loudly, you'd think I could hear him even without the phone. He should have just come directly to the hotel in the first place.
Wait, what is this? The hotel is gone. What? Emma?
It seemed like she had taken over the phone. Apparently, Tom had come with his wife to pick up the car, and they were both shocked. I was wondering what in the world was going on, but Emma's words made it click.
What do you mean, the hotel is gone? There's no sign, and the exterior has been remodeled. It looks similar, but it's something else. And there are a bunch of black cars here. What are those?
Don't tell me, that place is. I tried to explain, but it seemed like he had handed the phone back to Tom, who yelled again.
Explain it to me. I'm trying to explain, so stop interrupting me. My car is there, but what the heck is that?
What do you mean?
There's a fence around the car, so I can't move it. It's surrounded, so it can't be removed. Well, if you abandon it for a year, and you were overseas, so they probably couldn't contact the owner. Don't mess with me, Maria. You took down the hotel sign without permission, remodeled it, and trapped my car. Just wait, I'm going to go yell at the hotel staff right now. Tom, wait a minute. Shut up.
Ignoring my attempt to stop him, it seemed like Tom had opened the hotel door. The phone was still connected. He must have opened it roughly with a lot of force. I could hear the sound of him running in a panic. Oh no. Tom.
Get out here now. Looks like all the staff are completely unfamiliar faces.
That's not a hotel anymore. We got rid of that place ages ago.
I see, you got rid of it. No wonder I don't know them, huh?
I've never heard such a dumb-sounding huh before. Tom must have had the most ridiculously stupid look on his face. I wish I could have seen it.
Huh? Got rid of it? What do you mean?
I heard Emma's voice too. You see, we relocated about 10 years ago.
What? I never heard about that. I thought Mom and Dad had told you. I don't answer when they call because it's annoying.
Then it's your fault, Tom.
No, it's your fault.
I don't care. He still tries to make me the bad guy, as always.
So what is this hotel then?
We sold it to some rich person. They said they were going to make it a summer retreat.
but apparently that person was elderly and let it go. I heard it's been resold since then, but I don't know much about it now. You don't know? How irresponsible!
Don't say that to me. But I did hear a rumor recently.
Who the heck owns it now?
I don't know the details, but apparently it fell into the hands of some dangerous people.
Huh? Then, that parking lot is…
It must belong to the mafia.
You're joking, right?
It's true.
Screw that.
That's when it happened. The voice of someone who seemed to be the current owner, who had been listening to our conversation, or rather Tom's story, spoke up.
Hey, you. Are you by any chance the owner of that red car?
Tom seemed flustered and thoughtlessly answered honestly.
Huh? Oh, yes, I am.
Now he's in trouble.
Don't screw with me. Whose land do you think this is? Pay the parking fees.
I heard a furious voice shouting. Even if it wasn't the mafia, anyone would be angry if a stranger's car was left there without permission for a whole year. Isn't it hard to just move those kinds of things without permission? Because if you damage the car in the process, you become the bad guy. So they must have put up a fence to make sure no one could just drive off with it. I could hear someone who sounded like mafia yelling on the other end of the phone. Tom seemed to be completely cornered. Tom sounded scared as he shouted into the phone.
I'm in big trouble because of you. Get over here and explain. Maria, do something about this.
He was pleading for help. I immediately said,
Oh, I have another call waiting.
I'm going to hang up now. And hung up on him. I could hear him yelling.
Hey, hey!
But I ignored it.
That was a waste of time.
I looked at the clock and saw that my break was over. I sighed and went back to work. Apparently, Tom contacted our parents after that. He was panicking and flustered. He must have been cornered by some really scary people. But even the mafia can't do anything too crazy these days. Apparently, they offered to let him off if he settled with them or met their conditions. So that's why Tom came crying to our parents. Tom called my dad while I was with my parents. But my parents have decided not to coddle him anymore. They pushed him away, saying,
You're an adult now. Take responsibility for your own actions.
I could hear Tom's wailing voice over the phone on speaker mode. No way. I'm unemployed now. I don't have any money.
Unemployed?
My parents and I were surprised.
Tom, weren't you on an overseas assignment?
I got fired.
What?
Apparently, Tom had volunteered for the overseas assignment, but he turned out to be completely useless. Tom has no foreign language skills whatsoever. He didn't even have the minimum skills required for an overseas assignment. I wonder why they sent someone like that overseas, but it's not my place to point that out. Tom probably told the company something like,
French? No problem for a talented guy like me.
As a result, he couldn't communicate with clients, and in the end, he snapped at them and yelled, infuriating them. A big contract that was about to be finalized fell through, and he was fired for causing damage to the company. The overseas assignment was supposed to last several years, but there was a reason he came back after just 1 year. In other words, there was a possibility of unauthorized parking for a few more years. It's a terribly chilling story.
I thought I could get some money if I sold the car.
Tom sounded dejected over the phone. None of us listening had any reaction.
In any case, it's your responsibility. Figure it out yourself,
my father said and hung up the phone. I guess this is where we have to harden our hearts. But to think he didn't know we had sold the hotel. I wonder why he didn't notice when he came to leave his car, but Tom, who probably came sneakily thinking Dad might get mad at him, must not have paid any attention to the state of the hotel at all. We sold the place when the economy was bad and guests were dwindling. We decided to make a fresh start and built a new hotel in a new location. At that point, my parents retired. Mike and I took over and started running the hotel. My parents help us out by looking after the kids and stuff. Thanks to that, it's been 10 years since we relocated and the hotel business is going well. I thought maybe Tom would learn his lesson and settle down a bit, and it felt like a weight off my shoulders. But it didn't end there. After a while, Tom and his wife showed up. Apparently, they found our new location right away.
Hey, do something about this.
He barged in and started yelling immediately. It seems the mafia is really putting the pressure on him. However, the one being blamed is Tom for unauthorized parking. If he gets sued, he definitely won't be able to run away. As I was thinking about this, I saw a dark shadow move behind Tom and his wife.
What? What is it?
A chill ran down my spine. There were scary-looking people in black suits and sunglasses, probably mafia, squirming around.
Because of you, I lost my job, I'm being threatened by these people, and I'm even being sued. Take responsibility. Our lives are a mess because of you and your family.
This couple just wants to blame others for everything.
Everything is Tom's fault, isn't it?
But this is troubling. If they make a scene at the hotel entrance, it'll interfere with business. What a nuisance. But calling the police is also a headache because it's a family matter and it could affect the hotel's image. As I was worrying, Tom and his wife closed in on me. Unfortunately, Mike was out, and my parents were in a house a short distance away. Tom and his wife kept repeating that it was my fault, not caring at all.
Unemployed because of you. Worse luck because of you. Can't get my car back because of you. Can't fix my slouching posture all because of you, Maria.
How does that even make sense? That last one about the slouching posture has nothing to do with me at all. Tom wants to blame me for everything bad.
This hotel is mine because it's your fault.
He finally went that far. The mafia guys are nodding. Tom, cornered by these people, must have told them about our hotel and ordered them to take it over.
Huh? What are you saying? Mike and I run this hotel. I'm the older brother, the firstborn son. It's only natural that I inherit this hotel. A good-for-nothing woman like you shouldn't butt in. What? Listen up. If you leave it to me, I'll quickly turn this hotel into a popular, high-class hotel in no time. Just let me handle it. I'll double the sales in a year.
Don't screw with me.
Don't say whatever you want when you know nothing about this hotel. Maria, are you defying me?
Tom threatened me in a low voice as I argued back. The mafia backed him up. My body tensed up. But I had become strong. I'm not the weak me who would do whatever he said anymore. But the ingrained memories are surprisingly deep-rooted, and my body reacts to Tom's terrifying voice. I'm frozen and can't move. Unpleasant sweat runs down my body.
Fine, go ahead and defy me. But you don't care what happens to the hotel, right?
The guys behind me won't stay quiet either. What are you?
I have nothing left to lose. In this day and age, if I flood the internet with bad reviews, a hotel like this will go under in no time. What did you say?
Even though we relocated, the hotel name is the same as before. We've tried to carry on the desire to let guests enjoy themselves since the hotel's founding. Is Tom saying he'll ruin this hotel, the one that's been in our family since our grandmother's generation? He is grinning nastily. Those eyes are serious. It's the same old Tom who used to harass me. The Tom who stole and took my things. Are you trying to take something precious from me again? I can't hand over the hotel to a Tom like this. But if I oppose him and he throws a tantrum or spreads rumors, what will happen to us? Tears welled up in my eyes as no good ideas came to mind. That's when it happened.
Are you saying the management of this hotel is changing?
A woman's voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw a woman who had been working for us since before we relocated. She stood next to me and glared at Tom and the men in black.
Maria and her husband have been running this hotel with care. Even if you're the previous owner's son, I don't appreciate you meddling. What did you say?
Tom glared back at her with a look that said she was being cheeky, but this veteran who had known us since we were kids didn't back down. Then another figure joined on my other side.
That's right. Maria is doing an excellent job managing the hotel. Our hotel has a very good reputation. Even if you badmouths it, the people who have actually stayed here won't stay quiet.
It was the manager. He had been here even longer, an elderly man with a dignified presence. Many staff members had gathered. Nearly all of our staff. They must have heard the commotion and rushed over.
We won't hand over this hotel, said the veteran woman. It's not your place to interfere, said the manager. This hotel belongs to Maria and her husband.
Everyone chimed in. Tears welled up in my eyes. There are people who acknowledge my hard work like this. What I've been doing all this time wasn't wrong. Come to think of it, my mother scolded me a lot. The longtime staff and manager scolded me a lot too. But I worked hard, determined not to lose. I desperately thought about how to make a hotel that guests would enjoy. I felt like all that hard work had paid off. Holding back the tears that threatened to spill over, I glared at Tom and his wife. I won't lose anymore. I won't look back at the past anymore. Please leave, I said firmly to Tom. Tom's eyes widened and he growled. I didn't flinch an inch. It was a tense situation, but immediately after,
Get out!
A loud voice came from behind me.
Get out! Get out! I don't know what you're scheming, but you're definitely trying to ruin this hotel. Get out!
It was a hotel guest shouting that.
That's right! That's right! I look forward to healing from work fatigue here more than anything. Like I'll let you interfere with that. Get out!
Another guest shouted.
I like writing my manuscripts leisurely here while gazing at nature in the quiet. If you become the owner, I'm sure it'll be too noisy to write. I get inspiration from my work here. Don't interfere. Even if you write bad reviews online, we'll overwrite them with good content.
Guests shouted one after another and confronted Tom. I watched in surprise. The staff next to me were in tears. That's right, it's wonderful. To think there are so many people who love this hotel. This moment is irresistible. Nothing makes me happier than being told we did a good job. It truly brings me joy when people say they'll come again. Glared at by the staff and guests, even Tom and Emma were overwhelmed. The mafia froze too. Then one of the guests stepped forward.
I'm a former detective. Those words just now, could they be a threat?
Tom panicked at the word detective. The mafia also braced themselves.
I didn't mean it like that.
Another guest stepped forward.
I'm a lawyer. If it's a threat, I'll do everything in my power to protect this hotel. So, what'll it be?
Tom and his wife visibly turned pale. They stumbled over each other's feet and ran outside. The mafia followed suit and fled. And he said, Who would want a place like this? This kind of hotel will go under in no time anyway.
That's right, that's right. We have no business with a place like this.
Emma shouted too. And with that, they ran away. The moment Tom, his wife, and the men in black disappeared from view, my strength left me and I sank to the floor. We did it. The guests returned to their rooms as if nothing had happened. I'll have to thank them properly later and make dinner extra luxurious tonight. When I looked at the staff, they were all smiling. I silently nodded and returned their smiles. Amidst the excitement, an out-of-place voice rang out.
Huh? What? What happened?
We laughed again at the stunned look on Mike's face as he finally returned. I don't know what happened to Tom and his wife after that. I'm not sure how the unauthorized parking issue was resolved, as I haven't heard from them since. Tom and his wife will probably never come to our hotel again. It's just a feeling, but I can somehow tell. Whatever happens to Tom, who can only look down on others with his inflated pride, is no longer any of my concern. My parents seem to be worried but don't intend to help. It was Tom and the others who abandoned our parents first. It's their own responsibility. As for me, I'm as busy as ever, running around. Running a hotel is truly challenging and extremely busy. Lately, the kids seem interested too, so they come with their grandparents when there aren't many guests. A brother and sister, 2 kids just like Tom and me. But unlike us, my children get along very well.
Hey, Mom. I love this hotel. I want to work here when I grow up.
My daughter says. Me too. I want to be the manager. My son says, his eyes shining. Mike and I looked at each other and laughed at our children. At that moment, we saw the guests with reservations for today arriving. I hurriedly put on a big smile and cheerfully greeted them.
Welcome. Thank you very much for coming. Get to cleaning the house already. Slaves don't get to rest.
That's what my husband Anthony said as he splashed beer on me. I was so taken aback by the suddenness of it all that I froze. My body was wet, and the distinctive smell of beer filled my nostrils. As I stood there in disbelief, Anthony hurled more abuse my way. What should I do? What does Anthony want from me? Just when I felt cornered and at a loss for words, I heard a voice from the computer. The moment he heard that voice, Anthony, who had been red-faced and angry just seconds before, stiffened and collapsed on the spot. My name is Chloe. I'm 33 years old. I work as an office clerk at a company in a certain region, putting my all into my job every day. My days consist of dealing with large amounts of data and documents and punching numbers into a calculator. I think to myself that the company should make more use of computers, but being one of the younger employees within the company, I didn't have much say. I worked while being mindful of my superiors and was forced to attend drinking parties I didn't want to go to. My spirit was utterly exhausted.
These numbers are wrong again.
I'm sorry.
Please, I'm really counting on you. You've been making a lot of mistakes lately.
Yes, sir. The mistakes kept piling up due to my fatigue, further diminishing the little confidence in my work I had to begin with. I wondered if quitting would be better for me. It was during these times that a certain man started coming to the company as a salesperson. This man was the person who would later become my husband, Anthony. From just one look, it was clear that Anthony was a kind man. Even to me, who only did things like making coffee, Anthony was always kind. I found myself drawn to Anthony before I knew it. However, I couldn't bring myself to express my feelings to Anthony. It was all one-sided on my part, and I was sure Anthony didn't think anything of me. That thought was always in my mind. But a few months after Anthony started coming to the company, To my surprise, he approached me. We started going out for drinks after work, which led to us dating. After 2 years of dating, we were able to get married. With our marriage, I quit my job, and Anthony and I started a new life in a new home. We picked out a place we both liked after visiting various real estate agents. Quitting my job and thinking about the happy life ahead with Anthony made my heart lighten. However, the life I had envisioned was not to be. A month into our marriage, I noticed Anthony was acting differently. "Welcome home, Anthony. You're early today." "Yeah, well." He didn't look at me and didn't even greet me back properly. Seeing Anthony so different from usual genuinely worried me. After that, Anthony seemed somewhat listless.
"Are you okay? You seem tired."
"Huh? Oh." He seemed more irritable than tired. Indeed, he was different from his usual self. I thought maybe he was just tired today, and didn't think much of it. However, the next day and the day after that, Anthony's attitude remained unchanged. Gradually, it wasn't just his attitude and greetings. He stopped taking the sandwiches I made for him and didn't contact me when he was coming home late. I could tell that he was starting to treat me carelessly. Maybe I had done something to offend Anthony. As I pondered over this, my own time flew by. I was filled with insecurities about my behavior and thoughts of Anthony. Things changed a few months after Anthony started showing a change in his attitude. He began to verbally abuse me out of nowhere. One evening, Anthony spoke to me without touching his dinner. "Hey, Chloe. Do you realize?"
"Realize what?"
Without a subject, his sudden question was impossible to understand. I urged Anthony to explain further. Without any sign of remorse, Anthony said, "Your cooking is terrible." "What? Terrible?"
"Yeah. I guessed you hadn't noticed. Think about how I feel, having to eat such terrible food every day."
I had often cooked meals during our dating period, but he had never made such a complaint before. He always seemed to enjoy the meals, and he had told me many times they were delicious. Watching him like this, I never thought Anthony would find the meals I made unpalatable. "You used to say it was delicious."
"What? Did I?"
Seeing my anxious face, Anthony started laughing loudly. Then, after a good laugh, Anthony put down his fork and went back to the bedroom. Looking at the untouched meal, I felt indescribable. I too put down my fork and kept replaying Anthony's words in my mind. Had he been hiding that he found the meals unpleasant all this time? Or had my cooking skills just declined? I thought about it a lot, but couldn't come to a satisfying conclusion. However, one thought did seem to make sense. His recent behavior, his words just now. I thought maybe Anthony had come to dislike me. At first, I thought maybe he was just a little tired, but his recent behavior has definitely been too much. The Anthony I knew would have told me if he was tired. It must be so. But that would mean I did something to make him dislike me. However, I can't think of anything that might have caused it. My doubts about Anthony only grew. Then, another 2 months passed. Day by day, Anthony's attitude worsened, and the Anthony I knew during our dating days seemed to have disappeared completely. He verbally abused me daily and made a point to show his irritation by making noise.
"Do you even know how to clean properly?" "Clean? Yeah. You haven't done the bathroom or the toilet, and the living room is filthy too."
I always tried to keep the house clean, doing the bathroom and toilet cleaning daily. I even vacuumed every day. What else does Anthony want me to do? While I was feeling down, Anthony didn't stop hurling insults. What hurt me the most was him saying,
"Why did I even marry a woman like you?
Was all the love he professed just a lie? The moment I thought that, I felt tears streaming down my cheeks.
Ugh, why are you crying? Cut it out with the fake tears.
In the past, if I cried, he would comfort me. Now, he only says cruel things. Anthony went back to the bedroom, mocking me. Initially, we shared the same bedroom, but now I've been pushed out. I've gotten quite used to sleeping on the living room sofa. I knew I was being taken for granted and not treated with respect. But I couldn't bring myself to decide on divorce. I still had faith in Anthony. However, as expected, my feelings didn't reach him, and his treatment of me only got worse day by day. "Hey, dinner." As soon as I thought he was asking for food.
"I can't eat this terrible food,"
he would complain. I suggested eating out a few times, but for some reason, Anthony stubbornly refused.
"Why?"
He wouldn't give me any reason. Anthony would come home from work, complain about the entrance being dirty or the toilet being dirty, and demand food. Since his attitude started to change, I've often wondered what I did wrong, but seeing Anthony's behavior up to now, I've concluded he's just using me to vent his stress. The contradiction between what he says and his actions, constantly finding fault and berating me, it's clear he's just venting. I understand Anthony is tired from work. But I'm human too. Being constantly criticized, I too accumulate stress. I had hoped for a change, but I've reached my limit.
"Hey, Anthony. Can we stop this?"
I gathered my courage to talk to Anthony.
"I don't know if it's because you're tired from work, but can you stop taking it out on me? I'm also stressed from being criticized by you every day."
Anthony looked at me in surprise, speechless.
"Huh? What are you talking about?"
It's just like I said.
You come home and immediately start complaining about me.
I'm trying my best, you know? Anthony was half laughing as he listened to my words. But as soon as I finished speaking, his face turned red with anger.
"You know what? Who do you think you are? You're a housewife, but you can't clean or cook properly. What's wrong with complaining? Living carelessly like that. That's what pisses me off."
Then, can you tell me what's wrong so I can fix it?
"No, I won't say. It's clear that nothing will change even if I tell you. You need to figure out what's wrong by yourself."
Anthony evaded the question when I asked what was wrong with me. This conversation alone made it clear that Anthony only saw me as an outlet for his stress. Our relationship worsened even more after I expressed my feelings. The verbal abuse and attitude towards me intensified. I sighed, reminiscing about the happier times in the past. However, one day, I received a call from an unexpected person. It was my mother-in-law, Jody. Jody and I get along well, but we don't call each other often, so I quickly answered the phone. "Hello?"
"Oh, Chloe, how have you been?"
Jody's voice sounded very cheerful over the phone. After some small talk, Jody brought up the main topic.
"Huh? Handmade?"
"I was thinking I wanted a new hobby recently, and I remembered that you make handmade crafts. I was hoping you could teach me some stuff. Actually, I make handmade crafts as a hobby. I buy materials and tools, and spend time on my hobby when Anthony is not around." I had told Jody about my handmade crafts before, but I never thought she would remember.
"Yes, of course. If I can be of any help."
That call led me to frequently talk with Jody. Our calls weren't just ordinary calls, but video calls. Initially, we just talked normally, but as I wanted to show her what I was working on and explain the materials in detail, we switched to video calls. Our houses aren't that far apart, but going there every time is honestly a hassle. When it's time for my appointment with Jody, I enter the room where my crafting tools are and craft while talking on the phone. My heart, which was distressed by Anthony's actions, felt purified while I was talking with Jody. By the way, how have things been with Anthony recently? Are you getting along?
Yes. I'm glad to hear that.
I didn't talk about Anthony to Jody. I didn't want to worry her, and more than anything, I wanted to forget about Anthony during the time I spent with Jody. Even after starting to do video calls with Jody, Anthony's attitude remained terrible. I was desperate not to let Jody catch on to anything about Anthony. However, one day, an incident happened. It was a few weeks after I started doing video calls with Jody on a Saturday. As usual, after finishing housework, I was on a video call with Jody when the door to the room opened.
Anthony!
Turning around, I saw Anthony standing near the door with something in his hand. Completely unaware of the video call, Anthony approached me.
Hey, what are you doing here? What about the cleaning? The laundry? Why aren't you doing them?
I've already done them. What are you talking about? Didn't you see?
Huh? I didn't see anything.
Well, he had been watching TV in the living room the whole time, so his response was expected.
You're always just watching TV. What? Shut up.
Anthony, further aggravated by my words, said,
Get to cleaning the house already. Slaves don't get to rest.
And then he splashed something he was holding on me. I soon found out what it was. It was beer. I was drenched in beer, smelling of it all over. And Anthony laughed at the sight. Shocked by the suddenness, I was speechless.
If you understand, then get to work.
Then, he kicked over a stack of books nearby. Anthony's mocking laughter filled the room. I couldn't take any action and just watched as the books got soaked with beer. But then,
Is that all you have to say?
I heard a familiar male voice from the computer.
Huh? Dad?
Yes, the voice was that of Anthony's dad. My father-in-law, Liam.
What are you doing? I saw everything. You verbally abused Chloe and then splashed beer on her. When did you become such a terrible person? It's a misunderstanding, Dad. That's not what it was.
As Liam began to speak, the bravado from before was nowhere to be seen in Anthony, who now appeared completely cowed. Despite seeing Anthony like this, Liam didn't stop his anger.
What misunderstanding? It doesn't seem like this was the first time, was it? What are you playing dumb for? Really, when did you change like this?
Liam was clearly exasperated. It's understandable to be dismayed if your own son was doing such terrible things. Ignoring Anthony, who was just standing there with his mouth open, Liam made a proposal to me. Chloe, won't you come to our house right now?
Right now?
Yes. I'm worried about leaving you in that house. If it's okay with you, I can come to pick you up right away. I was honestly surprised by Liam's invitation. But, thinking about it calmly, staying with Anthony alone, I really couldn't predict what he might do next. Would that be okay?
Of course. I'll be there soon. Anthony, if you do anything to Chloe, you won't get off lightly.
With that, Liam hung up. I immediately started preparing to go to my in-laws' house, waiting at the entrance for Liam to arrive. Anthony didn't do anything to harm me, looking uneasy instead. A few minutes later, my in-laws arrived, and I headed to their house with them. When Liam opened the front door, Anthony looked frightened in a way I had never seen before, clearly very afraid of Liam.
Anthony, you should spend tonight reflecting on your actions alone. Understand?
Dad, I'm sorry.
What are you saying? The person you should be apologizing to isn't me, it's Chloe. Just think about what you've done alone. Reflect on it. Got it?
Liam said this and led me outside. I had managed to change my clothes but didn't have the chance to shower. Liam wrapped a towel around my body and put me in the car. A few minutes later, when we arrived at my in-laws' house, Jody was waiting for me.
Chloe, are you okay?
I'm sorry. Jody gently embraced my shoulder and led me to the bathroom.
Take your time. There are clothes and towels here for you.
Thank you. The events had unfolded so suddenly that my mind was still trying to make sense of everything. After taking a bath, I changed into the clothes provided and headed to the living room.
Thank you for the bath.
Don't mention it. Liam was looking grim, and Jody appeared concerned as they sat on the sofa. I took a seat on the sofa as Jody urged me to. Chloe, can you tell us everything that's happened up to now? It wasn't the first time, was it?
Well,
please, Chloe. I didn't know where to start and kept silent. But my in-laws patiently waited for me to speak. A few minutes later, I began to recount everything that had happened since our marriage and why I hadn't consulted them earlier. They listened quietly until I finished speaking.
And so, it came to what happened earlier. Why didn't you tell us? I didn't want to worry you. I'm sorry. Well, I understand how you feel, Chloe, but don't let that guys like him get carried away like that.
I'm sorry. I was scolded, but I knew they were both worried about me. After a while, silence fell again. Both seemed to be pondering, and the atmosphere didn't invite interruption. After a few minutes of silence, Liam finally spoke slowly. Do you still love Anthony?
What?
I mean, Anthony is likely to repeat the same behavior. Maybe it would be best to consider a divorce seriously. Jody nodded in agreement next to Liam. Divorce. I had never expected Anthony's parents to suggest divorcing him. Certainly, it might be easier to divorce. But, could this be an opportunity for him to change? The dilemma of still being in love made the situation even more difficult. However, they quietly waited for my decision. After a few minutes of thought, I made my choice. I'll get a divorce. I decided on divorce. There was a part of me that wanted to believe in Anthony, but after much thought, it was clear he had never listened to anything I said before. If I didn't divorce and went back, he would likely return to his terrible attitude towards me again. That's what I thought. My decision seemed to have relieved them both. After some discussion, we decided I should file for divorce as soon as the next day. This way, I could finally be free from Anthony. Even though I had hoped for Anthony's change of heart until the very end, part of me felt relieved once the divorce was decided. The next day, I went to the house with my in-laws, holding the divorce papers in hand. As soon as we rang the doorbell, we could hear footsteps inside, and Anthony came out. Chloe. And Dad and Mom. Seeing the faces of my in-laws, Anthony showed an obviously disappointed expression. It should have been clear that I wouldn't return alone so soon after what had happened. We entered and sat down on the sofa. My in-laws also sat down beside me. Anthony was still flustered and hadn't even apologized to me yet. Watching him, I said, Anthony, I want a divorce. What? Divorce? I've thought about it, and I no longer have the confidence to continue with you. If we start living together again, your attitude will just revert back, and over time, you'll forget about what happened this time and repeat the same behavior, won't you? That's not. Can you say for sure that won't happen? Besides, you haven't properly apologized to me yet.
It's clear you haven't reflected at all from your actions.
I'm sorry. Anthony quickly apologized after hearing my words, but it was too late. I had no intention of forgiving Anthony anymore. It's too late for everything. Just sign the divorce papers quickly. With my in-laws on my side, I could boldly express my thoughts to Anthony. Too late.
Anthony, what were you thinking last night? Not even apologizing to Chloe, and now you're surprised to be faced with a divorce. If you were aware of how terrible you've been, being divorced wouldn't come as a surprise. I did do terrible things, but I never thought it would lead to divorce. Not expecting to be divorced? You really have a blissfully ignorant brain.
Anthony shrank back at my words. All his bravado seemed to have been left somewhere far behind. In the end, Anthony reluctantly signed the divorce papers. Our relationship ended without a single sincere apology from him.
By the way,
as I was packing to leave the house, I asked something that had been on my mind.
Why did your attitude change all of a sudden after we got married? There was nothing like this when we were dating.
Reluctantly, Anthony opened up. I didn't want to be looked down upon. That's all.
Looked down upon? Did I ever act like that when we were dating?
No, you didn't.
Keep your weird fantasies in check. It's really unbelievable.
Okay. With that, I left the house with my in-laws, never to return again. I felt a bit sad to leave the house itself, to which I had grown attached. After filing the divorce papers, I stayed with my in-laws. Being a housewife without my own income, my in-laws told me I could live with them. Of course, I was nervous at first. But gradually, I got used to the atmosphere of my in-laws' house and could even enjoy doing handicrafts with Jody. During this time, Anthony tried to contact me, but Liam made it clear through my mobile phone.
We're cutting all ties with you.
And he never contacted me again. Anthony probably never imagined I would be living with his parents. Seeing that he tried to contact me even after the divorce, it was clear he still looked down on me. Divorcing such a man was the right decision. I can't thank my in-laws enough for encouraging the divorce. Now, a year after the divorce, I've started living on my own and working part-time, leading a fulfilling life. I felt it wasn't right to keep relying on my in-laws' house forever. Though I've moved out, I still keep in touch with my in-laws and continue to receive their support. They've treated me like their own family, even though we're not related by blood. My current goal is to repay my in-laws. What could I do to make them happy? Today, I continue to live with gratitude towards my in-laws.